Hi there. Today I'm going to review the present perfect in Spanish. So this verb tense is fairly simple. However, there are two parts that we have to change in order to form the verb tense. So we're going to start with the verb haber, which is pretty straightforward. But then after that, we have to put a participle with it to equal the present perfect. Okay, and the name is somewhat of a misnomer because it says present, but when we put it in the present perfect, it's actually something that just happened in the past tense. So it just happened or recently happened. So for example, in English, I might say, I have finished the exam. You have already gone to the store. Okay, so have gone, have finished. This is present perfect in English. Okay, we have done such and such. You have done such and such. It just happened. Oftentimes, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the tutorial, we'll see already. I have already done something, which is ya, Y-A. And when somebody's asking something, have you done it yet? Is another one, todavía. Have you done such and such yet? So those are two expressions that we'll see used for the present perfect. Again, this, when put together, equals the past tense, something that just happened. There are two parts that we have to work on here, and haber is the easier of the two. So let's start with, how do we conjugate haber? It's pretty straightforward. It's irregular because obviously we don't just drop the ER and add an O. It changes to yo form as a, as, for LA instead. And I'm not putting the subject pronouns over here because by this point in time we should all know that whenever we're working for conjugating a verb, we have our subject pronouns imaginary over at the left, right? And we can include those or not include them and such and such. On the right side, we have the plural subject pronouns, and nosotros is hemos, vosotros is habéis, and yep, I had to cheat to look that one up. If you guys have taken my class for a while or have a previous class, you know that I never learned the vosotros form, so I still have to go and look at those. So don't feel discouraged if you're still learning conjugations. I'm going on 20 plus years and still have to look at vosotros. Use it or lose it. Okay, but don't forget there's a second part here. So this is just part A. Now we need part B to equal C, just like in algebra, right? All right, so part B is the participle, and the rules are, for regular participles, we drop the AR and we add ado. For example, I love hablar, drop AR equals hablado. And this is the participle for an AR verb. How about for an ER or an IR verb? We're going to drop those endings and we're going to add ido. For example, comer changes to comido. Vivir, see if you can figure it out without, pause the video and write it down and see if you have the right answer, then start the video. Vivido. Okay, so he vivido. So this is the secondary part after a, as, hemos, habéis, and on. All right. And again, these are regular participles, which implies that there are irregular participles. Oh no. Yes, it is true. Let's do a couple of just the regular. So what if I want to say, I have finished the exam, and we'll use the verb completar for to finish or to complete something. So my first is, we know it's the yo form, right? We can either include yo or leave it out. It's always optional, or for clarification or emphasis, we include it. So yo, what would my yo form of haber be? Go ahead and look at your chart. A, now I need part B, complete. It's an AR verb, so what am I going to do? Drop the AR, add ado. He completado el examen. Okay, so right now a little warning should go off in your head and you say, wait, but Profesora Sesterhen, you're a girl, so shouldn't it be completada? Now we're not talking about adjectives, we're talking about participles. These are verbs, and verbs don't change for gender, right? And verbs don't change for, the participle won't change for number either. So even if it's plural people, so let's do, for example, nosotros, and let's pretend there's a guy, let's say it's my husband and I. Nosotros hemos completado. We're not going to say completados because we don't change it for number of people and we don't change it for gender, even if it were two girls doing it or two women or whatever. El examen. So since these are verbs, this is a verb clause, it's not going to change for gender and it doesn't change for number. Okay. Now, haber changes for the subject doing the action, right? And you could argue, well, that's a number, right? It changes from a to an because it's single person to plural. Okay, but I'm talking about we don't add an S onto the end to make it like us. HAS doesn't mean it's plural people, they, right? Verbs don't change for gender and number. All right, we don't add S's to make it plural, and we don't add an A to make it feminine or an O to make it masculine, and so on. Okay, so completado is going to be, no matter who we're talking about that's doing it, it's going to stay completado. Any participle will stay the same. Let's do another one with two. Okay, what's my haber going to be? So part A. And part B, we want to say, you have eaten. What would you do to form the participle? Hopefully you would drop the ER and you would add ido. Okay, if it's a girl, is it going to change to tu has comida? No. It's a verb participle, so we just leave it comido. How about ellos? What would you put here and here with the same verb? On, plural. Comido. Do I change it to plural? No, we leave it comido. It doesn't change. Okay, I think you probably got that rule by now. A participle is not going to change for gender or for number. All right. So earlier, I mentioned that was for regular verbs, right? So what happens when they are irregular participles? Oh no, we have to have irregular participles. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look from our lesson. It says, remember that some participles are irregular. Memorize these and do not add anything to them. All right. So if you take a look here, we have escribir, the IR is dropped, or the ER is dropped, poner, morir. Let's see. Okay, so can we see any commonalities on these? Escrito, puesto, muerto, vuelto. All right, obviously they have a TO and 6 of them. So escrito, puesto, muerto, vuelto, abierto, and roto all change to a TO. So if I were memorizing these, I would categorize these, group them together. So group like things together to make it easier in your brain. What two are not like the others? Hacer and decir. However, they are like each other. So let's also group those together and think of those as similar, right? Hacer and decir changes to hecho, dicho. I cannot tell you how many times I said he escribido and used what should have been an irregular and did it as a regular participle, escrito. So here's what a very common error to make by English speakers learning Spanish. So they have escribir and they say escribido, right? Because I'm following that rule, I drop the IR and I add ido. Okay, this is incorrect because we just learned that there were 8 irregulars and I should be saying escrito. So again, you're just going to have to memorize those into a group. And let's go back. Here was the list again. You can screenshot that or take a picture with your phone. Just write them down. Pause the video, write it down. So again, escrito, puesto. And saying these out loud is going to help you also. So when you write it, if I wrote escribido, I'd be like, wait, that doesn't sound right if I've practiced saying it out loud. So our brain usually retains information better when we're reading it and saying it. If you want to speed up your learning process a little bit, that's a good tip. Okay. And we already talked about how they don't ever become masculine or feminine. All right, one more thing to note. let's talk about participles. I'm going to flip back. Sorry to keep flipping you back and forth. Participles. All right. I'm sorry, not participles, pronouns. So we've learned about direct pronouns like I wash it instead of saying I wash the car. We've talked about indirect object pronouns. I wash the car for her. I did the laundry for him, right? I gave the gift to her. Those are indirect object pronouns. Reflexive pronouns, I wash myself, you wash yourself. I wash my hair, right? Me lavo el cabello, and so on. Those are reflexive pronouns. Anytime we have those direct, indirect, or reflexive pronouns, they're going to come before the word haber. Okay, so back to our whiteboard. What are we saying here? Anytime we have like a reflexive pronoun, it's going to come here. Let's do any pronoun. For example, reflexives me, te, say, nos, os, say. Let's say the reflexive pronoun is lavarse. And I want to say, I have just washed my hands. Okay, let's get rid of that say to start with. What's say going to change to for the yo form? May. It's going to go in the front. We just read the rule that it's going to come before my conjugated verb. What's the yo form for haber? A. Change this to a participle. Lavado. Do I change it to a lavada because I'm a girl? No. Me he lavado las manos. I have washed my hands. Okay, so again, what it's saying here was this present perfect verb clause will never be broken. This A plus B has to stay together to work, to be correct. We won't ever put a me lavado. Nope. Okay, it's going to come before the conjugation of haber. So the participle haber plus the participle will never be broken. We don't put anything in the middle of it, okay? A plus B is always going to be together. Maybe you want to say, I have washed it. For example, referring to el coche. Lo he lavado. I have washed. Again, a lavado is going to stay together, right? The lo is going to come before haber. All right, that's what they mean by when they say that pronouns will not come in the middle of the haber and the participle. All right, I think that's it. Oh, I forgot to tell you about ya and todavía. So oftentimes with this verb tense, we use ya already and todavía. I'm sorry, ya, yes, already, and todavía yet. Todavía equals yet, and ya already. So somebody might say, has lavado el coche? Like your mother's asking you, ¿has lavado el coche todavía? Have you washed the car yet? And you might answer, sí, ya he lavado. We know that he lavado cannot be separated. Nothing will go in between it. So I say, already I have washed el coche. If you want to get fancy with it, and let's say we replace el coche because it sounds kind of silly to be, hey, did you wash the car yet? No, yes, I've already washed the car. To repeat the car is kind of sounds like you're learning Spanish. So we want to make it a little more professional sounding, right? And we say, sí, ya lo it I have washed. The el coche can be replaced with lo, our direct object pronoun. If you're not sure what a direct object is and you're kind of lost on this part, I do have another video about direct objects. But that's from a previous lesson, and we're just incorporating it into this new lesson since it is oftentimes used with the present perfect tense. So again, we might say todavía, and todavía can come at the beginning. Todavía has lavado el coche? All right, yet have you washed the car? It sounds kind of funny to me. I like to put it at the end, but it sometimes can go at the beginning. Ya can also come at the beginning or the end. Sí, lo he lavado ya. It could also be placed there. Okay, so that's just a quick example of how todavía and ya can be used in these examples in this verb tense. Okay, hopefully that helps you. Let me know if you have any questions.